We've been talking about it because we've all heard of prenuptial agreements. They're common. It's a way to protect your assets before you get married.
Well, now more and more couples who have already said I do are turning to post-nuptial agreements to address their financial concerns. Wow, this is a new one. Family law attorney Justin Thomas is here to explain what is a post-nup agreement. What does it do?
Well, a post-nup, the only difference between a post-nup and a prenup would be that the post-nup would be signed after you got married, as opposed to a prenup is signed before you get married.
So does it basically say, if I make X, you can't have it?
Well, it just is, again, a contractual document to divide your debts and assets, whatever they may be, perhaps take into account alimony, child support, and some other things.
From a previous?
Well, from your current marriage.
Oh.
So as you can imagine, that doesn't go over too well when husband comes in and says, wife, I think I want you to sign a post-nup.
Yeah.
Well, how does that, I mean, don't you lose all your leverage? I mean, the whole point of the prenup that you have building up is kind of, if we were going to get married, this is what we need to do. Once you're married, can't she just say no, or he say no?
Well, that's one thing that brings up a good point. One problem you have with post-nups is, what is the consideration? Consideration being, a perfect example would be, you pay money for a house and in exchange you get the house. Well, what's the consideration in a post-nup? In a prenup situation, the marriage in of itself is the consideration. So what's more common is when people are having problems in their marriage, they enter into a reconciliation agreement. Very similar, again, the division of debts and assets. And I guess that's just a way to try to keep their costs down, not have to go through the court systems with the expense of divorce, the protracted litigation, but they have a contract. And they say, we're going to try to work on it, but in the event it doesn't work, we have this agreement to fall back on if we have to go through a divorce.
It almost seems to me like you're basically saying, this isn't working out so well.
Right.
I mean...
And again, that's what we just talked about off air. That's not going to go over too well, and certainly not in my house or anyone else's house I know about a post-nup. But there are, I suppose there are situations where people have certain reasons for doing that. Maybe it's, you know, an inheritance has come along or something like that as to why there is a reason. The famous case of
money on one side or the other.
Right. Or the famous case of Mr. McCourt, who owned the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he sold those. He got into a long, protracted battle over a post-nuptial agreement. And again, it has to be valid. There has to be full disclosure, no fraud or coercion. And they had a long battle over that, and ultimately the post-nup was not validated, so he had to
cost him the Dodgers.
Right.
Is it becoming more common because women are working more, where we have more assets? Why is it becoming more common, do you think? I
think, honestly, the expense of going through the divorce process, the difficulty of having to, you know, wait 8 months, a year, or however long it may take to work its way through the court system.
Paying the lawyers all that money.
Right. And then just the... it goes along with the alternate dispute resolution, mediation, and all the other things. The idea, if we can sit down amongst ourselves and work these things out, it saves everybody a lot of money and trouble. I think that's honestly where you get these.
Do you advise your clients to proceed with them, or is it conventional mediation not the way anymore?
Well, I think prenups, are obviously more common because typically a lot of times people have family pressure or something as to why they want to sign a prenup. I think a reconciliation agreement is more common than just a true post-nup, because a lot of times when you're having these agreements signed in a post-divorce, in a post-marriage setting, in other words, during your marriage, there's usually trouble in paradise.
Right.
So you're signing the reconciliation agreement in hopes that we can work things out. But if we don't, we've already got it decided.
Okay, so it's not a happy marriage. Okay, gotcha. Now I understand, Thomas. But it's a good option.
It is. I have to talk to Markova about that. She's my TV wife, so we need a post-nup so I can get something out of this.
Well, you can call Justin. We put the information on your screen. Thank you. All right, we got some gospel in the house for you this morning.
They were rocking it.